Hello, church family. This is Pastor James Johnson coming to you with a little bit of a message and preview of what you can expect this weekend. We're continuing in our series, Love Manifesto, dealing this week with relationships. Pastor Freddie is going to be speaking. This week it is going to be out of Matthew chapter 7, verse 1 through 12. In this section of Jesus' teachings, there's really three major things that we're looking at. There is a negative teaching really about judgment. There is a positive teaching, the golden rule, and then there's a link between the two regarding asking, seeking, and knocking. Let me explain just a little bit. When we talk about judging in verses 1 through 6, it starts out, Jesus teaches, do not judge others and you will not be judged. For you will be treated as you treat others. The standard you use in judging is the standard by which you will be judged. You know, as a disciple, it's way too easy for a disciple of Jesus to really to judge other people. It's too easy for us to look at our efforts to follow Jesus and what we're doing and compare it. That's a disease, isn't it? A comparison thing. To compare it with what other people are doing and say, well, they're not doing that much, or they're not as good, or they're not as dedicated, they're not giving as much, they're not spending enough time in prayer, or they're not as involved as I am, or whatever that may be. Well, what does Jesus do? He really condemns this. In verses 3 through 6, he starts off there with, why worry about a speck in your friend's eye when you have a log in your own? Really, what Jesus is doing here is he's condemning this type of judgment. He is saying basically, arrogant, self-righteous people have no self-awareness. And so what do? They become critical. And so we look at other people sometimes and we think of what they do or don't do, and we judge it against righteousness or serious spiritual effort. And it's a fatal delusion. When we participate in judging people, we're basically taking the attention off of our own relationship with God and making a comparison thing with somebody else. And nobody else's relationship with God is anything like yours. It's all unique. And it's all based on God and a single person's relationship with God and what God is working out in their lives. Now, we're talking about a person's spiritual life here. We come to the end of this particular teaching in verse 12, and I'll kind of then do the link. Do to others whatever you would like them to do to you. This is the essence of all that is taught in the law and the prophets. That takes us back to Matthew 5:17. Don't misunderstand why I have come. I did not come Moses or the writings of the prophets. No, I came to accomplish their purpose. These two phrases both speak about the law and the prophets. They really bracket the core of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. So we're looking at this, every principle contained in these words. It comes back to accomplishing the law and the prophets. It means to live a life of righteous and godly love in our relationships with Him and our relationships with others. That's why we're calling this Love Manifesto, living in the love of God and living out the love of God, really. So what links this? Judging and the golden rule. Because they're seemingly opposite ideas. Well, it's found in verse 7 through 11. Keep on asking and you will receive. Keep on seeking and you will find. Keep on knocking and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives. Everyone who seeks finds. And to everyone who knocks, the door will be open. In the context of Jesus' sermon, it's not about just getting what I want. It's about asking for God's enabling grace to live with spiritual integrity without regards for others, to fulfill and accomplish the purpose of the law in the context of the love and righteousness of Jesus. And I need God's spiritual enabling grace to be able to do any of this, to not judge others and to also treat others as I would want to be treated. I need to ask for God's enabling grace for this, and He openly and freely and enthusiastically gives it to each one of us, which is really, really good news. Hope you will be at our worship service this coming Sabbath. I hope that you will enjoy it and be blessed. I know you will. And if you're watching online, please enjoy that. But God bless you. Have a great weekend and happy Sabbath.